Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. My name is Teddy, and if we haven't met yet, welcome to the channel. On this channel we do a lot of PC builds, we do some monitor reviews, and we look at anything that is tech related or things that I'm interested in personally. And today we are going to be building in the Xtia Xproto-L V2 open frame chassis. So this is a PC chassis that has no outer shell, so all of your components are going to be open air, exposed, so you can see every little detail of your build. It's not for everybody. I know that some people prefer to have a case. I get a lot of questions about these builds when I post them online to get some feedback, and I would like to show the build process, why I chose the components that I did, and explain some things about these open frame builds that you may not have known. Okay, starting off, this does have a carrying handle that you can add. There are some options whenever you go to buy this. You could opt to get different radiator size adapters. So this is the 360mm radiator adapter that will allow you to attach your large radiator to the side of the case. I chose the option of black anodized finish. You can also choose a white finish, and there are several other modules you can add, such as some USB support for the center and a flip module to make it flip upside down. You can also order a PCIe Gen 4 or Gen 5 cable from Xtia. I chose not to, instead opting for this braided cable. It is Gen 5. So if you've got a GPU that takes advantage of PCIe 5.0 bandwidth, this is a great option if you don't like the look of the ribbon style riser cables. It also comes with this little mat that you can put your build on when you're finished. And moving on, this is the power supply I'm using. This is the Tryx Loki 850 watt Platinum SFX-L power supply in white. I'm also running a custom set of ModFlex cables from CableMod for this specific power supply, so don't mix different power supply cables. Make sure you just do it the right way. Using the wrong cable could cause fire hazards, it could overheat, you could damage your components. It's just not worth it. So make sure if you are ordering a set of custom cables to make sure you check your compatibility list. And if you are doing it for a custom build or for a client, just be very careful about the cables that you choose and do it the proper way. So the first thing you want to do on this build is route your cables from the front of this front panel through that hole that's in the center. That's exactly what those cutouts are for. It's to get your cables through. So that little gap in the center, it's probably about ½ an inch of this case, is where all of the cables are going to fit and push through to the back side. So this is like a sandwich style case. So if you've built in like the Fractal Terra, it's a similar concept where your motherboard and your power supply are connected to one side, and then your GPU is on the other side connected by the riser cable, and your other cables kind of just fit wherever. But this one does have a gap where all those cables are going to fit. And this is why ordering a set of custom cables is so important in this case, because if you just use the cables that come with your power supply, or if you're using like a ATX power supply, the cables are going to be so long and you're going to have so much excess that it may be difficult to fit all the cables in between these two panels like they are designed to do. So just be aware of that before you plan your build in this. There is an adapter for the SFX power supply that comes with the Xtia case. So attach that to your power supply, and then from the back of the front panel you're going to attach the screws. You're supposed to attach 2 screws, but I found that if you lower it down to that position where I put that screw, it actually lowers your power supply down a little bit and allows you to more easily manage your cables back through the front to attach to the motherboard, which I'll show you in a little bit. So looking at it right now, you're looking at the front panel, the way you look at it when it's built. So what you want to do is push the 24-pin power straight through on the right-hand side of that groove. So that way, when you put your motherboard in, it will be right in place where you need it to be. And then you also want to make sure that it is oriented properly. So when you plug it in, it curves over and can plug directly in with the clip in the right spot. And these are your motherboard standoffs that come with the case. You just screw those in like you would on any motherboard tray. And then there's a little gap for your CPU EPS cable that you want to make sure you route in there before you put your motherboard in. Once you put your motherboard in, if you don't have it routed there, you're gonna have to take it back off. So just do it beforehand. Now you slide in your motherboard and it will basically go right in place, and then put the screws in that come with your motherboard and connect it to your motherboard standoffs. And you can see why you pre-route your cable through there, because that's not a big gap, and if you didn't do that beforehand, you'd have to take off your motherboard to slide that through. So go ahead and connect your EPS cable to the proper hole, make sure it clicks in. And while I'm over there, I'm just going to adjust the cable clips before I move on. And now I'm going to attach the 24-pin power to the motherboard. And these ModFlex cables are still pretty rigid, so just make sure you bend them a little bit ahead of time, and then slot that in and push it down till it clicks and is fully seated. So earlier in the video when I told you to attach the power supply on that lower bracket, on that lower hole, that is so that way you have a little bit more space here for these cables. I'm going to be using an all-in-one liquid cooler on this build, and a huge thank you to Newegg for sending me this over. This is the Tryx Panorama SE 360 ARGB, and it has a curved AMOLED display. It is absolutely crazy looking. I've never seen anything like it. You can customize it. You can put your CPU temperatures, GPU temperatures, a whole slew of different things. You can also do custom images and videos on it. It is absolutely crazy. So check out the curved screen that this thing has. You can orient this in a few different ways. So you can do sideways with it facing left or right, and then you can also do it vertically. I call it waterfall mode, and it just slots into your pump using those 4 little pins, and then it magnetically adheres. It is pretty innovative if you ask me, and it is connected directly to your motherboard. So this is the only thing that you really have to plug into the motherboard for motherboard control. The pump itself will plug directly into a motherboard header, as will the fans. So they're both individually controlled by their separate motherboard headers, and it doesn't interfere with any of your RGB software. So you can run software like OpenRGB or Signal RGB or your motherboard manufacturer RGB, and it will sync up and it won't affect the rest of your devices. So that's quite nice. So what you want to do is just remove all of the screws that hold on the fans to your radiator, and then you're going to attach the AIO bracket that came with the case. And once again, I'd like to genuinely thank Newegg for sending me this AIO out. It's a huge part of the look of this build, and as a small creator who really wants to put out high quality stuff, it takes me a long time to put a lot of these parts together. I gotta find the time, I gotta find the funds to do it, and so this helps me out a great deal, and I'm sure it helps out a lot of other creators when they get an opportunity like this. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm extremely grateful, and I hope everyone that's watching really enjoys this build as much as I do. Next, you're just going to attach your mounting bracket to your motherboard, and they have these little arrows that point to the CPU, so you know exactly how to orient them. I'd like to take a moment to thank Newegg again for supporting this build. Newegg has been a trusted source of PC hardware, components, and cutting-edge tech for over 2 decades. Their wide selection, competitive pricing, and reliable service make them an excellent resource for anyone building or upgrading a system. You'll find a link in the description if you'd like to explore their latest offerings. I'll also be adding a link to the Tryx Panorama SE 360 ARGB AIO, and let's continue on with the build. So remove the plastic cover covering your CPU block, and you'll see that it has pre-applied thermal compound. So if you want to use your own, it comes with a tube, but I'm just going to use the one that comes pre-applied. And you're going to apply this directly to your CPU and make sure those holes align, and push this all the way down until it makes good contact with your CPU. Then you're going to use the 4 provided springs and nuts to physically attach your water block to those brackets that you attached, and that's going to hold this securely to your CPU to cool it down. And next you're going to connect your AIO pump to your motherboard header at the top of your motherboard. On this motherboard in particular, you can wrap the cable around the bottom of your pump block and then attach it directly to your motherboard, and it will kind of be hidden there. Now if you're using the same PCIe riser cable, what you want to do is pass it through the back using the same hole that your PSU cables use, and this will allow you to plug it directly into your motherboard without kinking the cable. Now typically you would run the ribbon style riser cable right out the motherboard and then through the center through another gap, but using this cable, it's the best way to do it. And save yourself a headache and just route it this way. Before you attach your rear panel and sandwich everything in, now is the time to put in your handle. It slides into this groove, and then you want to make sure you push your power on and your reset button cable straight through so you can attach it to your motherboard. And then you want to pull your PCIe riser cable through that large gap so that way it can attach to the standoffs on the back of this panel. You'll notice there are 2 more cutouts on the back of this back panel. What those are for your PCIe power cables. So if you are using the 12-volt high power cable or standard PCIe 8-pin connectors, you're going to push those through, and that's going to attach to your GPU when you install that. And finally, you're going to attach the front and rear panels together using the 6 provided screws. If you need to push down on these 2 panels to get them to actually be close enough to put the screws in, you may have to do that. Don't do it too much though. You don't want to kink any of your PSU cables or anything like that. Make sure there's nothing in between the front and rear panels before you button them down, because again, you don't want to pinch anything, so just be aware of that. Now you're going to attach your PCIe riser cable to the standoffs on the back of the case, and once you've got those screws in and tighten them down, you're pretty much finished other than installing the GPU. And for this build, I'm going to be using the Asus Tough Gaming Nvidia GeForce RTX 5080 OC. It is a pretty powerful card. It's got 16 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, and it is enough to keep up with most of the demanding games of today. So what you're going to do first, before you attach it to the case, is attach that little L bracket. You're going to lower it down in line with your PCIe riser cable, and you're going to insert it directly into that slot like you would any other graphics card. And it's going to go all the way in and snap. And once that is in place, you're going to tighten the 3 screws that you attach to the L bracket to the GPU. And once those tighten up, that is going to hold that back portion of the GPU on. To secure the right side of the case to the frame, you're going to use that little rectangular piece with the 2 holes in it, and you're going to sandwich the GPU into the top of the case with those 2 screws. You're going to route those through, and you're going to clamp those down. What that is going to do is just make sure that front of the graphics card isn't going to wiggle, and it's going to not pull out from the PCIe riser cable. Then you're going to tighten that final screw that you normally would whenever you install these on a normal case. And then the final thing you're going to do is make sure all of those 3 screws are tightened down. You're going to plug in your PCIe GPU power cable, whichever that may be, and then you are finished. I really wish I had a white GPU to really seal the look of this PC build that I was going for, but I just didn't have it at the time, and I didn't really want to paint this one since it's a fairly new card. So overall, I think it really looks cohesive. I think it looks pretty futuristic, and yeah, I really enjoy it. So thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, please comment, like, and subscribe. When you get to the end and you've seen the finished product with all the lights on and everything, let me know what you think about it, truly. If you like it or you hate it, you think it's ugly, or you think it's the best thing you've ever seen, let me know. I am curious to know what you think, and we can discuss it in the comments. But genuinely, thank you for watching, and this is Teddy, and I'll see you in the next one. Xtia out.